digital ratings definition. I'm Larry Hennessy, and I'm Senior VP of Member Services at TAB. Our presenter this afternoon is Jeff Casper. He's Senior VP of Operations and Research. Also with us this afternoon is Dylan Mabin, who's our VP of Research, and Enza Chiotti, President and CEO of Smart Media, and also TAB's training consultant. Your microphones are turned off, so please type your questions into the space provided on your dashboards, and we'll get to as many questions at the end of the presentation as possible. I'll turn it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Larry. Welcome to our webinar. Today's topic is some changes we're making to our out-of-home ratings for digital units. The agenda today is to announce and describe the changes to our TAB digital measurement. But first, we should go back and look at some of the history behind our digital ratings measurement system to give us some context. Back in January of 2010, we first introduced TAB out-of-home ratings. And at that point in time, for any digital structures that were already in the database, we produced digital ratings for the entire structure. In June of 2014, we released for the first time an enhancement that measured digital spot ratings. So spot-by-spot detail was reported, June of 2014. And now today, we're beginning to release an enhancement to that June 2014 release, where we're going to be doing some improvements to how we measure digital spot ratings. And this is to better align digital out-of-home with other digital media. So in the fall of last year into the winter, the industry began reporting to TAB that digital spot ratings, the definition was very stringent versus other digital media measurement. And it became difficult to compare our measurement of digital media across different digital platforms. So in our December board meeting, the board of directors asked us to consider revising the current definition for calculating digital spot ratings. And our goal was twofold. We were asked to find a definition that is still anchored in the standards and high quality used to produce spot level ratings, i.e. VAI, spot-by-spot detail, while also improving how our digital ratings measurement philosophy can better fit into the broader digital media landscape. So we went back and we had a better understanding of how other digital media report themselves. And many of you know this, but other digital media have been discussing and are migrating to something they're calling viewable impressions. This is true for people that are in the internet space, the mobile space, as well as digital play space. There are many conversations going on in many different arenas about how to get other digital media toward a viewable impression definition. A viewable ad is different versus a served ad, and this is the difficulty. A viewable ad is an ad impression that is only counted when it has an opportunity to be seen. It has to be able to be seen. Whereas a served ad, which is what a lot of internet and mobile and in some cases digital play space we're using, is that an ad impression is counted only when it leaves the ad server. So said another way, viewable impressions, or exposures as some media are referring to, are really opportunity to see measures. Not did you see the ad, but did you have an opportunity to see the ad. Viewable impressions, therefore, are the potential to see the ads and not actually seen. Digital play space often use the term exposures, and these exposures are often reported by network. There is an adjustment, but it's reported by network. So that's the background on how other digital media are looking at themselves. And this is an improvement for them. Viewable impressions is a challenge for other digital media measurement because they're dealing with different things. They have to deal with ad server technology, things like editorial content being mixed with advertising. Tab impressions are and will be more precise. And this is what we mean. This is a screenshot taken from a video that is available on our website. All of these people in cars are milling about, looking or not looking at advertising, billboards, street furniture, what have you. An opportunity to see, or a viewable impression in this context, would mean that you only have to be there. And we're taking it a step further. We're saying you not only have to be there, you have to be actually seeing the ads, hence the term precision. So, stated another way, opportunity to see measures will always be larger than actually seeing an ad for the same arena. They will always be larger. So what does this mean? In order for us to compete with other digital media, if they're looking at viewable impressions, do we have to actually return to a DEC to compete in the digital world? Well, no. We developed tab measures, and we made them very strict so that buyers can feel comfortable that they are purchasing people actually seeing the ad. We don't want to lose that. However, there is a way to hold this advantage while also making us more comparable to digital's measurements. And this is where we're going to get into. It's related to how we apply the visibility adjustment. That is, the percentage of people driving by that have an opportunity to see the ad that actually see it. We have been reporting measures based on the probability of each ad opportunity per pass. And now we will be reporting measures based on the probability of any ad opportunity per pass. Now I could practically hear all of you scratching your heads, so let's dive into the details a little bit. What does this new definition mean, and what does it approve? Well, this new approach gives our digital spots and non-digital structures the same audience for each visible ad. And when I talk about adjusting VAI, this is precisely what I mean. It relates to ad length. So before, ad length impacted impressions in two different ways. It was related to how we calculate how many ads can be seen. So a shorter ad length means that when you're driving by or walking by, you have an opportunity to see more ads. But we also used ad length to help refine VAI. So while you're driving by the sign, the VAI score for a shorter ad would be lower, and for a longer ad, it would be higher. This second thing, this further refining VAI, is what we're removing. This is the change. Because this second step, this second way that we treat ad length, was negatively impacting the way our media was viewed against other media. By removing only that element and leaving the opportunities per pass version of ad length the same, we can now be more comparable to other digital measurements. So let's look at this example on the right. In this example, the person has an opportunity to see 4 ads per pass. So for a non-digital, for a static board that has 1 ad on there, let's pretend that the visibility adjustment is 60%. So that means 60% of the people that pass by a static board see it. Now, in our existing measurement system that we've had since July of 2014, we would take that VAI score and we would make it smaller, 30%, adjusting for the fact that the ad is only able to be seen a portion of the time that they're passing through. We are removing that adjustment and making each ad that is seen 60%. And as a result, the impressions will go up. Okay, let's look at this a little closer. The first step in understanding what we mean is having to define how many opportunities that you actually have to see different ads on a digital structure. So we have a lot of information here at TAB that allows us to do this. We have something called a contact zone which is the amount or the distance that exists while you have contact with the ad unit or the face. We also know how fast you're going, and all of that impacts how many ads you have an opportunity to see. We also have the traffic count, and we also know the ad length, or how often the ad changes. When we know all of this, we can figure out how many people can have an opportunity to see each ad. So as cars are going by the board at different speeds, they see more or less ads. The faster you're going, the less ads they have an opportunity to see. And the slower they're going, the more ad opportunities they have to see. So let's pretend, moving forward, that the example here yields 3.5 ads that are able to be seen. Now let's get into the second step, which is generating all of the numbers. So let's say on this particular board, our circulation, or our DEC, is 100,000. This might mean, for a standard format in blue, weekly impressions of 79,000, or more specifically 78,698, and this represents the visibility adjustment of almost 80%. Easy. When you get into digital, if this sign were a digital format, it gets a little bit more complicated because you're seeing more than one ad per pass. So the circulation is actually more. It's 100,000 versus 120,000, which you see on the top in green. And we divide this evenly among all of the ads in the rotation. So each ad, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H, are reported in the database as such, and they all have the same impressions that add up to the digital structural impression of 120,000. Now remember how we're doing this. We are getting this number by applying the visibility adjustment score to the 3.5 ads that are able to be seen from the prior page. Those impressions that are calculated are then spread evenly among all of the spots because we don't know exactly which spots you are seeing. Moving forward, when we're moving from each ad opportunity per pass to any ad per pass, we are doing the same thing. We are still applying a VAI score to the 3.5 ads able to be seen and generating those total impressions and spreading out those impressions among all of the spots evenly. But now the numbers are higher. Why are the new impressions higher? Well, remember, we're no longer discounting VAI for spot length. The spot length is still relevant for opportunities per pass. So this is the money page. So we're going to sit here for about 10 seconds and let you look at this and make sure as you're doing so you type in any questions you might have. Okay. So what does this mean in real life? What we've done in our database is calculated the averages that are going to be generated for all of these different formats: digital bulletins, digital posters, digital transit shelters, and digital urban panels. And we're showing them in order based on how we were reporting them initially in 2010 by structure, and then in 2014 when we moved to a per spot reporting situation, and now in 2015 when we're reporting per spot but making this VAI adjustment. So you can see using the digital bulletins example that the structure level impressions, that is the impressions generated by the entire structure, all of the spots added up, was 332,000 weekly impressions. When we moved to spot ratings, we did a lot of extra research that allowed us to understand how many ads people are seeing as they go by. So each spot might generate 77,224 impressions. Now, most digital bulletins have anywhere between 7 and 8 spots per rotation. So if you were to take the 77,000 and multiply it by 8, that would be your new structure level impressions, which, if you can do this in your head, is now much higher than what the structure impressions were in 2010. Now moving forward in 2015, with the easing of the VAI, we have a new spot level impression assigned to each individual spot. So in summary, what we've done is make some adjustments that places TAB digital media in a more comparable position with other digital media. And we've done so by retaining all of our advantages. We have the same methodological superiority because we are not really measuring viewable impressions. We are measuring people actually seeing advertising still. We still retain a superior reach and frequency that is both sensitive to location and media weight. Other guys don't do this. And we are able to be combined with other media. Other guys don't do that either. And we did this. Remember, we were asked to do this in December, and here it is April. And we are already able to make this change with minimal disruption because of the open architecture design of our database. So moving forward, what do we need to do to make this transition? Well, we've already seen that the industry will see an increase in per-spot impressions across all digital formats. You should know that all of the terminology in the TAB system will remain the same. An impression is an impression, a rating point is a rating point. There's not going to be any new terms that we have to learn. And these changes will go into effect in mid-April. And with that, we can entertain any questions.
So please write your questions into the question box, and we'll get started on that just momentarily.
Okay, we're just going through some of these now. You know what, as I'm reading through this, why don't we just go back and look at those 3 slides again, and we'll try to explain it a different way. Oops. This one? Go back. Go back. Go back. Slide prior to this one.
One more.
All the way.
It's to the bar.
One more. Okay. So let's illustrate again what the change is that we've produced. It has to do with how we are applying VAI. We used to apply VAI 2 ways. First, in determining, we used to produce ad length in 2 ways. First, in producing opportunities per pass. So if your ad is 8 seconds versus 6 seconds, you would have less ads each time you go by. So the ad length is important for opportunities per pass. And ad length was also an input in our VAI score that was applied to each spot. So we removed the impact ad length has on VAI. This is the change. So when you go and you define your spot opportunities, it's predicated on the length of your contact zone and how fast you're going. And in this example, we might have an average of 3.5 ads per pass. Ad length still matters here. That 3.5 ads per pass goes into how we calculate individual spot impressions. So this 15,000 number is predicated on us applying 3.5 ads to the VAI score and then allocating the impressions across all of the spots. When we remove the impact of ad length to VAI, our impressions change. So one of the questions was, explain that 300,000 number. Okay. This goes back to the circulation. So we start with circulation of 100,000. This is like a DEC. We take that 100,000 and we multiply it by, in a standard environment, by a VAI score, a simple VAI score, which we've made up here as 79%. So we end up with impressions of about 79,000. Now for a digital board, remember we are actually seeing more than one ad. So because of that, your circulation is going to be higher than the original circulation, and your impressions are going to be higher sometimes as well. So our impressions for the digital board are calculated at 120,000. This is based on a VAI being applied to multiple ads being seen. And then we divide this by 8 to get the number of impressions per spot. When we remove the impact of ad length to VAI, we do the math the same way. But our new total impressions moves from 120 to 300,000 because of that. And then we allocate that 300,000 divided by 8. Okay. And for those that are not quite following, an impression is basically the number of eyeballs that are seeing the ad, not number of people. Okay, let's go to some other questions here. I think they're pretty much all covered here. Okay, is mid-April when this will be available in the systems like Telmar? Yes. Everything will be released at the same time. So Telmar and us are already in discussions. It's not a big change from a software or an IT perspective. It's basically changing one number. So Telmar, while we can't speak for them directly, has given us every indication that mid-April is also when they will be releasing this data. Okay. Will VAI ever account for obstruction, given that this is a big factor in viewability? It will not. And this is because we don't know where the obstructions are. Sometimes there's a tree in the way, sometimes there isn't, sometimes there's a bridge abutment, sometimes there isn't, or a building. So this is where the specialist buyer really becomes important. They need to understand very specific things about their market in order to take full advantage of what the ratings can and can't measure. Is the VAI set at 3.5, or was that just a generic example? This is a generic example. 3.5 is also not a VAI. 3.5 is how many ads you can see as you're driving by. The VAI is the percentage of those people that see ads. This seminar is going to be available to listen to again, over and over again, and you can always call us directly if you want us to take you through everything many different times. We'll try to do this in different ways so that more of you can understand. Okay, here's another question. How do the impressions ratings differ per structure for 6 spots versus 8 spots, etc.? Okay, so the impressions change for 6 spots versus 8 spots because of 2 reasons. The opportunities to see ads changes depending on how many spots are available, and the number of spots really makes a difference in how many impressions are assigned to each one. So if we're generating X number of impressions for the structure, what we're doing is we're dividing that structure impression by how many ads are available. So 6 spots, each one of those spots would generate more impressions per spot than would 8 spots. Okay, another question here. Should we be in the middle of a proposal and the new numbers are much better than the old numbers? Is there a way you have set up to get this information to our clients before April 15th? Okay. The way this has to work is, however you sold this information are the numbers that are used to post against this information. So many of you may have sold something prior to this change, but the actual delivery of that will happen after this change. You follow? So whatever the number was that you sold this information against is the number you use to post against. Now, these numbers are going to go up. So my advice would be to highlight that to them and say that they have gotten more impressions than perhaps they have initially signed up for bonus impressions. Okay. How do you figure cost per thousand for one advertiser in a digital rotation? Okay. In order to figure cost per thousand, you have to understand how many spots they're buying, not the structure. One of the reasons why we started producing spot level ratings is so that it would be easier to calculate a cost per thousand that a buyer and a seller can agree upon. So if you're selling a spot, that is the impressions level that you have to use to generate your cost per thousand. It says, I'm assuming ratings are based on occupancy at 100%. Can you adjust for lower occupancy? We also have to assume that the ad units that you're giving us and the ad length that you're giving us are what you typically sell. And these ratings and impressions are being reported as such. So no, we can't adjust based on your lower occupancy. We simply don't know when that's going to happen. Okay, just scrolling through the questions here. If we were to buy out all spots on a digital face, is there a way to accurately measure impressions now? Yes. You bought them all, add them all up. And that would be your total impressions that you would use to calculate your CPM. Okay, here's another question. Explain VAI. VAI stands for visual audience impact, for those who always wondered that. And this is simply the percentage of people that see an ad. This is something that isn't always applied in other digital media. This is what makes us more unique. This is different than somebody's opportunity to see an ad. This is basically the percentage of people that actually see an ad. Okay, why are we trying to be more like other media formats? Wasn't the whole genesis of our effort to be better? Why are we sinking down? Seems to be an operator directive. Well, we are still better than other media formats, but it became apparent that in order to best present our results against other formats, we needed to be able to have our numbers be as comparable as possible for those buyers who are trying to understand a internet or mobile or a digital place-based number lined up against our own. The change that we have made does two things. One, it allows the buyer's life hopefully to be a little simpler because they can generate numbers that are more similar, but it also preserves our uniqueness and the fact that our measurement system is more stringent. So speed of the cars is still factored in. Yes, they are. Every item that we have always had as part of this whole process is still there. The only change we're making is the ad length's impact on the VAI score. What is the difference between the number of eyeballs and the number of people seeing the ad? Okay. The number of eyeballs is simply a reference to the fact that you might be driving by an ad and seeing it more than once, but you are only one person, whereas the total number of people might be a different number. How is the pass speed determined? Well, there's a company called INRIX, I-N-R-I-X, and they are responsible for gathering millions and millions of data points of how fast people are driving in their cars. You can learn more about them by visiting their website, but essentially we license their data, and it's the same data that are used by all of these computer systems that show traffic flow that you access every day, radio stations that give traffic information. It's a massive, massive database that helps us understand for each structure, each location across the country, how fast people are going. The information we gather is by hour. So we know during the day, during rush hour, during weekends, exactly how fast people are going by your structure. And we weight average it to determine an average weekly speed that we use. So rush hour is still part of this calculation, as are times when it is not rush hour. Okay. These are really good questions. Can you explain again how this makes us more in line with digital ads? For a display ad to be viewable, it has to appear for at least 1 second. But here it's possible for the digital out-of-home ad to not even show up in time for a moving car to see. That's not exactly true. This makes us more in line with digital ads because we are looking at viewable impressions. How would you answer this?
I think that the biggest difference between, the viewable impressions, we're not concerned about, if the car isn't in the contact zone or in a place where they would see the exposure, they wouldn't be counted. That's part of our visibility score. It's already built in to the way that those pieces are analyzed. It's not, if the car is gone and another ad is coming up, that car isn't going to be counted as part of the impression. Does that make sense?
I guess we'll know. Okay, here's a good one. Can you explain the specific change that any ad per pass has on the math? Enough of these words. Let's just get to the numbers. Okay, the VAI score has changed for each digital spot. It's gone up because we are removing the fact that we were diminishing VAI based on how long the ad is able to be seen. That is the only change. Is this an accurate summary? Circulation multiplied by number of ads are able to be seen per pass equals total opportunities, which you then divide by the number of spots. To apply visibility.
Right. The missing piece there is that visibility. Remember that we're not giving that up. That is still a core piece of our research, and it's something that we are really proud of. It is unique to the out-of-home measurement than anything that's out there for any other media. It's that visibility adjustment score, that factoring of the unit, all the different characteristics of the unit that are applied to account for that likelihood to see. That we have not lost. The thing that we have decided to remove from the calculations is an additional element to the visibility score that was added that had to do with if a spot was longer or if a spot was shorter. That's the only piece of the visibility that was removed, not the entire thing.
Okay. Does each site have a separate VAI score based on speed? Yeah. Speed matters.
All right, so speed matters for opportunities per pass. The speed does not have anything to do with the visibility. Again, visibility for digital structures only impacts the opportunities per pass now. All of the standard attributes of the board, size, angle to the road, distance to the audience, things of that nature. Those are still considered, and that's what defines the conversion from circulation to people that are likely to see the board. That's what we should consider the visibility of the board.
Okay. Even in digital 2.0, how can the structure impressions be higher than the standard or static impressions? Simple. A digital board has multiple ads that can be seen and are seen. Each time somebody looks at a different ad, that is a new impression, whereas a standard or static board only has one ad on there and can only generate at most one impression per pass. How do you handle signs that are known bottlenecks? Is that part of your consideration for dwell time?
Absolutely. Because we use real speed data from NRICS that Jeff was saying, during periods of peak congestion, the number of opportunities per pass goes through the roof if you're in stop-and-go traffic. For example, if you're going 60 miles an hour and you, at that speed, could see, say, 3 ads per pass, if you were to slow down to 30 miles an hour, now you could see 6 ads per pass. If you were to slow down to 15 miles an hour, that's now all of them. You know, you're going to the reduction of speed is going to impact the opportunities per pass in a very, very dramatic way.
So if you're at a bottleneck and it's reflected in the speed data, which it is, you're going to get more impressions. Okay, so before you were assuming the audience only saw one digital ad. Now you are adding in the fact that they are seeing more than one. No. We were always assuming, or always been measuring, how many opportunities they had to see an ad and that they were seeing and had the ability to see multiple ads. The only change that we're making is the impact that ad length has on the visibility score. Can you clarify VAI? Our understanding was Visibility Adjustment Index versus what you just referred to. That's correct. It's Visibility Adjustment Index. The VAI score has just been changed. How is VAI calculated? VAI is originally calculated based on studies that TAB performed using eye tracking technology, where we were driving past different boards in different settings, different sizes, different distances from the road, different stuff. And we figured out which percentage of those people noticed each board. And we used that information to apply to all other like boards in the database. Will TAB be re-auditing all digital units once the new numbers are released, or will we be responsible for this as salespeople? We are auditing constantly. Every year we will be applying new traffic counts, and we will be asking everybody anew to develop and give us new lists of units that are available, and we will be also asking you each year to help us understand your ad length and how many spots in rotation. We do that for you. The numbers are released anew every January, and there are quarterly updates along the way that take care of any appeals to the data as they become known. Here's a good one. In 10 words or less, how would you describe this change to a buyer?
Go for it. You try it first, and then we'll see if we can make it even simpler.
Okay. The visibility score has been adjusted to reflect the fact that ad length is not a factor. How's that?
I mean, I think that is the absolute critical thing. We are still following the same procedures that we always have in terms of understanding the characteristics of individual structures and then applying what we know about speed and congestion and dwell time to get to a per spot impression. What we're no longer accounting for is the length of the spot. So there's not a difference between a 6-second, 8-second, 15-second rotation.
That's way more than 10 words.
I know. I couldn't do it. Sorry.
Are hours of illumination factored into the VAI? Good question. The answer is no. They're already factored into the circulation calculation, just like they always have been. So they do matter. VAI, again, is just the percentage of people that see the ad as they go by. How do digital rating points compare to a static face rating point that delivers comparable reads? Well, again, you're going to be generating more rating points on a digital structure than you would on a like static structure because you have an opportunity and are seeing multiple ads per pass. If you're looking at one spot versus one structure, I don't think there's going to be a difference.
It will always depend on the speed of the travel, the number of ads in rotation, and the ad length.
I think the question is probably stemming from, is there some sort of an adjustment for the fact that it's an overly illuminated board with movement? Is there a visibility piece to it because of that?
Is the visibility higher just because it's digital? Yes, slightly.
Is it right to say that we were essentially double discounting because we were using both opportunities per pass and the length of the ad in VAI? It now appears redundant.
Can you say the question again?
Okay. Is it right to say that we were essentially double discounting because we were using both opportunities per pass and the length of the ad? It now appears redundant.
No, because opportunities per pass just is that. It's how many ads were available to the average audience as they drove past the board. That's a multiplier of circulation, essentially. The ad length discount is just that. We were discounting the VAI score for the structure for the fact that one ad was only up on the screen for a fraction of the dwell time. And that's no longer the case. And that's what's really bringing us back in line with other digital media.
Are there hourly TAB ratings or plans to introduce them? There are discussions to introduce day parting. When the industry is ready to do so, our database and the architecture behind our database is ready to make that shift. Is there a place on the internet where this formula is spelled out? Think A, B, C equals new impressions. Yes. We will ask you to call me and I can send you something. Okay. Many of these are asking the same thing, so I'm just scrolling through some of them. If you have any other questions, just please contact us directly, and we'd be happy to answer them. Again, as Larry had stated, this whole presentation will be available online. You can review it multiple times, and again, please stay in touch.
Thank you. That concludes the webinar this afternoon. Have a good day.